Hello, everybody, and thank you for joining. This is Retention 101. This is Chad Rubin with Skubana, joined with Casey over at Shopgate. Casey, if you don't mind saying hello.
Hi, everyone.
And I know we're just at the top of the hour here, so we'll give it a few more moments while others are joining. So thanks for taking time out of your day to join this webinar. Time is precious in life, and so it's our job to make sure that we are providing a ton of value up front that you can take into your business to help you make more money. So while we're waiting for the other stragglers here, if you want, in the chat box, just throw in where you're dialing in from. So I'm dialing in from New Jersey, from our office in Fort Lee. Casey, where are you?
Yeah, we're based here in sunny Austin, Texas.
Oh, my favorite city in the United States.
Oh, really? Mine too. Looks like we've got a Tobin on from Green Bay and Rima from Las Vegas and Ryan from Indianapolis. So we're from all over.
Awesome.
Oh, Seattle in the house. Welcome, Brian.
Any international dialers?
Oh, we just got a Manchester. Assuming that might not be international. We just see Manchester. Emma from Manchester.
It could be Manchester, Georgia.
It could. I was hoping for England, but.
Yeah, I was just over in Austin. I was there for
UK. Welcome, Emma.
Oh, there we go.
Fantastic.
All right, let's give it a few more moments. But for those that are joining, the expectations here are that we want to provide a ton of value up front. This presentation is all about dipping into your customers' wallets for the second time. So you're in the right place if you want to know how to retain your customers, dip into that wallet a second, third, fourth time. Perhaps you want to understand a little more about optimizing your funnel after the first purchase. And of course, we'll be talking about multi-channel and going multi-platform.
Yeah, exactly.
So people are still coming in here. We'll give it a few more minutes. What's the weather like over there in Austin right now?
Oh, it's hot. I just flew in from North Carolina, too, where it was not quite as hot. I got off the airplane and it hit me.
I was just over in a mastermind in Austin. So it was a fun time at this place called Travasa up in Hill Country.
Oh, I've never been there.
Yeah, it's like a spa / hotel. Really nice.
Oh, I've driven by. I know, it's very nice.
So what do you think? What do you think, Casey? Do you think we get started?
Yeah, I think we've got quite a few people from across the country and internationally, so I think they're ready.
All right. So like we talked about this, oh, okay. So just let's do introductions. So Casey, why don't you start?
Sure. So as you can see, my name is Casey Gannon. I'm the Vice President of Marketing and Partnerships here at Shopgate. Shopgate is a mobile app platform. I've been here with Shopgate about a year and a half. My background is in technology, both startup and e-commerce, a lot of focus on mobile apps. So I actually worked for a mobile app development agency for a while where we built 7-Eleven, UPS, several apps that were really exciting, really took advantage of the contextual experience that mobile apps provide. And then I've been in e-commerce software now for sort of the last 4.5 years.
Extensive background. I've also been in the e-com world for a decade. So I started off selling vacuum cleaner parts and filters online, then started my own direct-to-consumer brand across 20 different channels. And then it got really out of control managing that business. So we started a software business called Skubana, which helped me automate, manage my entire multi-channel strategy, everything after the shopping cart.
Wow, awesome.
Yeah, and I also happen to be a Shopgate customer. So this webinar works out well.
This is true.
So feel free to catch me at any of those different tags. E-commerce renegade is what I'm known on the streets of Instagram. Or you can feel free to email me. I'll respond back promptly, chat@skubana.com. And you can catch me at any of those other places, along with there's your information there, Casey. I see it.
Yeah, you can. My email's there. Any follow-up questions, please feel free to reach out to me.
Cool. So let's get into it. So, like I think in the past decade, at least for me selling on the internet, I was really focused on acquiring customers, and I don't think I was spending enough time actually on retention. I think I was actually mainly doing that just because the costs of getting the customer in for the first time buy was so low at the time. PPC was still nascent. PLAs weren't even available yet, and competition wasn't just flooding the entire PPC market. So if we move to the next slide, this is what myself but other clients are focusing on today, which is it's not just about the one-time sale anymore. It's about dipping into your customer's wallet for the second time, for the third time, for the fourth time. So it's how can you, like the first sale is just the appetizer. The entree comes at the second sale when someone actually makes that second time buy from you, because then they're actually more loyal and they're also more willing to open their wallet to you on that second time buy. It's easier to get, it's much harder to get someone to open their wallet the first time.
Right.
So if you look, I took a screenshot of what's happening in the PPC world right now, where the PPC spend is on the rise. So, and actually Amazon didn't always do product listing ads, which is this image here on the right, pulled directly from Google. They started, I think, in November of 2016. They were just doing text ads. So now you've got all these marketplaces like Amazon, Jet, QVC, Walmart, Home Depot that are actually spending a ton of money, really not even caring about the ROI on their PPC ad. And so this is what we're competing with right now. So in order for me to compete, I need to really be concerned about that second time buyer.
Right, and they're concerned with it, right?
Go ahead, sorry.
I was saying they're concerned with it. That's why, I mean, Amazon and some of these other marketplaces will sell dirt cheap because they know that it's the volume play. They've got to capture them the first couple times and turn them into repeat purchases.
Yep, for sure. Now, Amazon is notorious to have repeat loyal customers because of their FBA program, for all the other things that they've done to actually enable people to be like Prime 2-day shipping. You can almost download your order. But Amazon's also kind of monetizing this in the back end. So if Amazon has an ad right now on Google, they're actually typically getting paid through a sponsored ad from a customer that drives them to a listing on Amazon that has a marketplace seller in that listing.
Right.
So the game has definitely changed in PPC. That's why, like, when we look at the cost of the sale of like literally what we're spending versus what we're making on PPC, that cost right there is extremely, like, we hone in on it surgically in our e-commerce company, and we also are focusing very heavy on what happens after the funnel, like getting that customer to buy for the second, third, fourth, and fifth time.
Right.
So one of the things that I've been working on, at least because I have a recurring product, again, like I said, I started off making vacuum filters back in 2008, and we're trying to really get people into an automation program where they just get the recurring revenue, because a recurring revenue customer is worth a lot more than a one-time buyer. So we've implemented our own version of a subscription product in our shopping cart so that they save money, but we also get that money consistently. It's like an annuity.
Mm-hmm.
And Amazon actually has something it's called Subscribe and Save too. Again, I'm not trying to recreate the wheel here. I'm learning from people that are already doing it. And I'm trying to implement techniques that create more value for our clients and for them to come back and shop with us versus just going directly to Amazon.
Right, making it easier.
Yep. So if you look in the next slide, you'll see here we are focused, and this is my own website. We're focused on keeping our customers around and providing unique value so people want to come back to our site. So I've circled a couple things that might be a little bit small on the screen, but one of the things I implemented right away was free shipping, free returns. I actually got that from reading Tony Hsieh's book, and so he was all about customer delight. And so I was like, okay, you know what, we're going to do free shipping, free returns, no questions asked. Then we put a phone number in the top right-hand corner. We put our hours of operation. When you call us, you're not going to get somebody in some sort of third world country, right? You're going to get somebody here in the United States that will answer like an expert and understand. So like if you're selling stand-up paddle boards right now online, you don't want to just, and like there's so many different choices to choose from, you want to shop with someone who's going to give you a ton of value up front. So that's what I'm trying to do in the vacuum world, and in the replacement accessory world is giving you value so you always come back. So we have live chat directly on our site.
Yeah, that engagement with your brand, I think, is really where we see that loyalty being driven, and it's your only real key differentiator over big box stores, right, like Amazon and the marketplaces.
Exactly. So like I'm not saying it's not, I love selling on Amazon, but when you sell on your own site, you end up owning the customer and your margins are a whole lot higher. So
Absolutely.
for me, what can I do to monetize that customer journey, keep them coming back, give them an amazing, incredible experience with us? And another thing that we do, I think I forgot to mention this, was product videos. So instead of going to Amazon and it's just, it's a vending machine approach. It's Coke, Pepsi, RC Cola. At Crucial, it's all about giving people value so that they come back. You're giving them a lot more than just, do you want paper or plastic with that? You're giving them a video where it shows you how to actually install your filter.
Right. You know, one of the things I think too, I think a lot of retailers consider Amazon a sales channel. I think, to be fair, it is a sales channel if you define that. I think of it more as a first touch acquisition channel, and the goal shouldn't be to have any additional purchases from that same customer through Amazon if you can do that.
Yeah, I like that approach. The question is, how do you pull it off?
Right. Right. And I think that's what we're going to get into with some of these additional channels, right?
Exactly. So when you're selling across multi-channel, like for me, not only am I on my own shopping carts, I use Shopgate for mobile, but I also sell on Amazon, eBay, Sears, Rakuten, Newegg, Jet, Wayfair, Overstock. I think I can keep going on and on, but I am the manufacturer at the end of the day. There's a lot of people that are on this webinar right now that are also selling direct to consumer. Maybe some are selling as resellers as well, which is fair, but for me, I think I decided very early on to focus my time selling direct to consumer and becoming the manufacturer. Because when you're the manufacturer and you're selling on multiple different channels, each channel has their own quirks and their own terms of service. But if you're the manufacturer, this is just an example of something I include in all of my manufacturing when it's either in Asia, Mexico, or in the United States. We slip into the box itself, before we shrink wrap it, we slip in a warranty program. And we call it the Elite program. And so when people join that Elite program, first of all, they're being tagged for remarketing. So we know exactly who's buying from us and remarket them to actually make that second and third buy. But we also bring them into this Elite program where we give them dedicated support. We give them access to early sales, whether we launch a new sale on Amazon or on our own site. And they get access to a warranty program that's really built to wow them. So this is just one example of how you can get customer continuity of that repeat purchase and get them into that funnel for that second time buy. And I think it's a pretty card too. I really like the card.
Yeah.
we worked hard on it. But there's also a landing page on that card, and when people click on the Elite program, and then they get, like I said, they get cookied with a Facebook pixel or maybe without a Facebook pixel for remarketing through some of the other technologies I'm about to go through right now in the following slides. So email remarketing, I use Klaviyo, and we segment our list based on either people that bought a filter, they get reminders, best customer profile, so repeat customers or big spenders. We segment our list based on these different characteristics and hone in on these demographics that buy from us to get the repeat sale. So I think right now the stat is that I think for every customer you have on your list, you should be getting 11 cents of revenue. That's like the industry stat. Now, I don't know how listeners on the call today compare to that stat, but you should be trying to extract, everyone on your list is a potential customer. They're on your list for a reason. And you should try to extract as much dollars from those customers as you possibly can. Is there anything that you wanted to add to this, Casey?
No, I think that you're completely right, and I'm going to talk a little bit down the line here on, sort of the number one channel we provide that complements email remarketing. But I think email is always going to be for a while kind of the key to keeping retention.
I absolutely love email remarketing. I'm obsessed with it. I've also like reading books now on like customer copy, even this customer win back series. People that maybe didn't buy from us, where we're just giving them a shout out to say hi. So these are customers that have high intent to buy from us and maybe didn't buy from us. We did an abandoned cart campaign and they put their email address in and they just never came back. So these are great ways to monetize people that are in your list or that came to your site that didn't buy, to buy from you if they didn't buy, or to repurchase from you on that second time, third time buy.
Yeah, and the only thing I was going to add to that really is I think email remarketing is one of the most effective ways of segmenting your customer, because we know that the more on target that your message is, the more likely you're going to get a conversion out of it, right? And so I think this remarketing technique lets you, hit the nail on the head with what the consumer wants to hear from you.
Yep, your email copy needs to directly be linked to a specific product. So for us, for filters, we actually segment based on vacuum filters, based on coffee filters, based on air filters, etc. So for this is PPC remarketing. This is like one of the legal ways to stalk people. And it's funny, like I'll have my cousins come to my site or visit my site, and they're like, I just keep on getting ads all over the internet with your company. So for us, we want to get as much exposure as possible. People say that like the more times people see something, the more they're just going to eventually just give it and buy it. So this is our way of essentially stalking clients that either bought from us or maybe they visited our Elite Warranty Program page or they signed up for a warranty, to get people to repurchase again from us. And we just constantly are just hammering home the message of buying from us all over the net.
How are you seeing remarketing costs through social media versus like paid search remarketing?
Yeah, so that's a great question. And so it all comes down to, for me, I'm in the most unsexy business out there, which is vacuum filters. So when let's just say you leave work and the first thing you do is you go into the elevator and you go on Facebook. The last thing you want to see is a dirty filter, right? You want to check out of the world. You don't want to like know about the chores you have to come home to. So for me, like Facebook is not a great acquisition channel for us. It's not great. Maybe for a wine opener it's great, but for us it's not great. However, if you can properly segment and identify your audience for retargeting, then it makes a lot of sense. So let's just say it's a mother, right, or a potential nesting mother, and they're about to bring home, and she's about to bring a child into this world. Well, you need to make sure that your floors are going to be clean because your baby's going to be crawling all over those floors. Right. So for us, that's a great, relevant, customized customer for us to focus on and hone in on them on Facebook. So for us, I think for me, it's more about PPC and getting them into my email nurturing campaigns. Because again, if they bought from us the one time, they're going to likely buy from us second, 3, 4, 5, 6, etc.
Right.
What are you seeing from your customers?
Well, I mean, our customers are a little bit different since we're on the merchant end, but our merchants are seeing that these acquisition costs are really expensive, and since we kind of span all the different industries, we see the same thing, right? Where it's unsexy products to B2B products to sort of fashion and products that target millennials. So they span multiple channels, but we are seeing across the board is that each of these channels, the cost is continuing to increase. And so our customers are coming to us to say, how can we effectively reach back out to these customers without continuing to spend the same amount we spent to acquire them? And so I think that's where things like email marketing and push notifications and some of these channels come into play.
Yep, for sure. Now, the other thing I want to mention is that we'll actually spend a lot of time cross-selling, upselling, especially the big spenders that purchase with us. So they may buy a filter, maybe we'll upsell them with a hose, or perhaps they bought a coffee filter, and we'll try to do a kit or bundle to win back their business so they spend more with us. Right. But when you look at that first-time PPC cost of what you're spending for PPC, it doesn't take into account what happens after the 30 or 60 days that they buy from you, which is why we're having this webinar all about retention. Right. So one of the things with Skubana, this is literally a fraction of what Skubana does, because we're an operational system. But when you start selling across multiple different channels, you actually have data to diagnose your business in seconds. So one of the things that I like to look at is our customer lifetime value. A lot of e-commerce sellers do not focus a lot of attention on this. And not just for your own website, but also for if you're an Amazon FBA seller, or maybe you're just selling on Jet or Walmart, or maybe you have a Shopify, maybe you have 5 different Shopify or Magento sites. So your LTV, if you know what percentage of your customers are one-time buyers versus 2-time buyers versus 3-time buyers, and what those customers spend on average, it'll make all the difference. So that's how you can customize retention programs to actually dip back into those customers' pockets for those so they can buy from you again and make them a frequent visitor and a frequent customer. So we have all these reports in the back end. We do it across every single marketplace. And this is, again, just the benefit of being able to have a unified platform in one place to run your business.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, I'm going to jump in a little bit here, but I'm going to try to not be redundant with some of the things that we've spoken about. But Chad has told you about several different remarketing channels that he's using, and I'd like to talk a little bit about one more that he's using and that's somewhat new to the market and new for a lot of retailers. I just want to expand a little bit. We talked a bit about how paid search cost was continuing to increase. This is from this year previous to last year, and I think a lot of retailers are starting to look at Facebook ad spend, product listings, so we talked a little bit about that in Google Shopping. Those costs are continuing to increase because every retailer is now starting to get online, and they're all having that same challenge of being found sort of in this Google world, right? And especially with the large marketplaces, Amazon, Jet, those guys have money to spend, and they want to make sure they get that first touch, which brings us to why customer retention is so important. So I think Chad talked a lot about the second and third times bought, second and third purchase. This is where we start to see the profitability come in, right? So we've got a chart here where we're looking at our customers. We've tried to accumulate and aggregate the data from all of the merchants that are using Shopgate, and we've seen that it can cost 7 times as much to acquire a new customer versus keeping existing ones. So I'll jump down to, well, we'll stay here for a moment, but essentially what we see is when you aggregate that initial acquisition cost, which is typically very high, and for a lot of our merchants, more than even the revenue they've made on the product that they're selling. And again, that varies based on industry. But as you aggregate each purchase additionally, so they've purchased 4 or 5 times, the revenue that you've made on those purchases versus that first time acquisition cost and then the declining cost to retain them, that's when you start to become profitable. So 7x is sort of an industry average, and I'll talk a little bit more in another couple slides. I've got a chart that shows this. But essentially, your cost to retain them, it can be so low if you're using tools like email marketing and push notifications versus solely using things like remarketing. Do you have anything to add to that, Chad, that you've seen sort of specific in your industry?
No, I completely agree. This is something that we're working hard at every single day. So this resonates heavy with me.
Yeah. And then I love these stats. Again, so Shopgate, we've got over, at this point, we've got over 15,000 registered merchants, and we've got about 5,000 that are live and actively performing on our platform. So again, aggregating their data, and we've seen that returning customers are not just more likely to buy during their visit, but they're spending about 55% more on each purchase. And what's really great, if you're in an industry where you consistently launch new products, they're more likely to be early adopters of these products. And then I think one channel that we don't talk about here, it's hard to sort of quantify, but that evangelist channel, right? So the word of mouth channel. These returning customers are most likely to refer new customers as well. They're most likely to be the ones on the street telling the other moms about the vacuum filter that they got, that they have to get, or that great new shirt that they bought.
Yep, and that's something that we've actually recently implemented as well. We have like a referral program where people get compensated for making referrals.
Yeah. Yeah, that's fantastic. I think we've recently launched a loyalty program into our platform as well. So we're using Zenrello. We're getting ready to build the integration with Sweet Tooth, which is rebranding to Smile.io. This is really key to the retention. I think this is why retailers are rolling this program out too, because that's got a mild cost to it, right? Whatever you decide you're going to compensate your current customer with for loyalty is essentially your cost.
Mm-hmm.
So this is what I was talking about a couple of slides ago, but increasing your retention rate by just like 5% can significantly increase your profits. We'll kind of go through this since I've already explained it, but this is aggregate data. So a lot of our customers, based on the surveys we've done, are actually seeing it's between purchase 4 and 7 that they're really starting to see profitability and that growth. And that's what they're focused on, is getting to purchase number 4. Do you have a number that you're looking at, Chad, with your customers that sort of indicates, okay, this is the point where now it's very profitable. This is the point where it was worth acquiring this customer?
When they sign up for recurring revenue on our subscribe and save, it's an immediate win for us. But the one-time buy, like this is showing, it's really negative right now, and so that's why we're again completely focusing our time on 2, 3, and 4. I don't have a number that I can share with everybody here, but this looks about right. And it looks like you're also projecting here that order values increase, which I completely agree. Like that that person that buys on the fourth time is going to be spending a lot more money than the first person that buys on the first time because there's a lot more trust there.
Right, yeah, and so we've taken that into account here, right, where they're ordering more, but we also look at purchase 4 is now they're starting to order new products too, not just the one. So maybe with your business, they're not just ordering those vacuum filters, they're also ordering their coffee filters from you, and they've really started to engage with your brand, and they want to continue that relationship.
Yep.
So diving in a little bit, we talked about Shopgate being an app platform, so I'm going to dive a little more into that. So a lot of retailers are now making sure they've got a really solid mobile experience, but for them, it typically means a mobile website, which is great for acquisition. You have to have this. This is a must-have. You have to be mobile friendly. But I think you can go a step further when you're looking at retention. And so apps actually have a 10x higher retention rate over mobile websites. There's several reasons for this. One is sustained engagement. So it's that direct communication through push notifications, which I've mentioned a few times. It's an improved experience. Having to go onto the mobile web, having to search for your brand, and then potentially have all of your competitors pop up, all the Google Shopping networks pop up, can be problematic, right? And so also on the app, it's built for the phone, right? So you're already logged in. They don't have to remember their login information, which is a huge problem with cart abandonment. And then we've also got the digital wallets built in. So Apple Pay, Amazon Pay, PayPal, it's all built in there, making it very easy one-click purchases. And then a lot of retailers forget about this, but brand visibility. I know we have a lot of apps on our phones. I mean, just looking at mine, I think I can slide like 7 times, but your icon and your logo is still there. So there is a bit of brand visibility and just branding happening on your phone.
The other thing I want to point out, I think it's just an intangible of having an app, is that I think Google actually weighs it heavy with SEO, where it's part of the SEO process.
Right. Yep. And that's starting to really increase. We're taking a pretty deep dive into how apps are going to impact your rankings. And then taking that a step further, and I think that this is potentially an obvious statement, right? Apps that send push notifications have a higher retention rate. But what I really want to call out here is that I think this is a comparison with email, meaning that push notifications should be complementary to your email program. I don't think push notifications replace email, but I do think that they are key. They are immediate. So from email, you have about a 6.5-hour response time in the retail industry. With push notifications, it's about 15 seconds, which makes sense because your consumer probably has their phone in their hand and they're going to click on that push notification if it's interesting to them. The other thing that I really like about push notifications is not only are they short and quick, but they don't require an open and a click. It's just a click and they're immediately into your store. And then one more key component there that I think is sort of new for retailers is that push notifications now have the capability of targeting consumers the same way that email does. And so what we were talking about with those remarketing email campaigns and how important it is that copy matches what your consumer's looking for is the same with push notifications. So I think for a long time, retailers were looking at sort of broad reach, one-time push notifications that went out to large audiences. And unless you were a major retailer who could afford the expense of segmenting and building out sort of the custom dev and working with the different vendors that provided this, it was difficult to do this. But we've actually built this into our platform. So there are 2 ways that our retailers are segmenting their push notification. And one is profile data. There's a few things to consider. So there's gender, age, location, and then there's device type, which I just want to point out, this is like not the sexy part of push notifications, but it's important to note, and a lot of retailers miss this, push notifications have different character links between Android and iOS, and so being able to send out a push notification that has the right character links and your message doesn't get cut off is really important. So we provide that as well. But you can send, if you've got a dress sale, you can send those only to your women, but you can segment in that regard. That's the second, which is really great, is behavior-based data. So we have the ability to help retailers know what their consumer is doing and serve up messages either in the app, a push notification in the app while they're shopping, or after they've left. So our most common behavior-based push notification is abandoned cart. So you can send a notification reminder to complete your purchase. What's great about this is when they get that push notification, and if you include, say you include a coupon, they click the push notification, it opens the cart with the coupon already installed, and if they have Apple Pay set up on their iPhone, they can click Apple Pay, use their thumbprint, and they're about 3 clicks in, and it's very quick. Very easy to use, not a lot of clicking and opening. Other behavior-based push notifications that are really interesting to me, and I think retailers are starting to get creative with this, are things like, you haven't visited our app in 30 days, we have new products. Of course, I think you can make that copy a lot more interesting, but that's the idea behind it. Or if you have a lot of consumers looking maybe at a jacket and you're low on quantity for that jacket, you can target all of your consumers who've looked at that jacket with a message that says limited stock, purchase today. Maybe be out of stock by tomorrow if you don't purchase today, and create some urgency within those consumers to come back and finish that purchase, which is really where I think the app becomes a retention tool. So apps are great. They are another selling channel, like Amazon, like your website, like any of the marketplaces you're in. But now you've got a retention tool built in. So I think that's really where push notifications and apps are now sort of a new tool that retailers are considering for increasing their customer loyalty.
Awesome. And what are some things that you're seeing that retailers are doing to creatively get their clients to download the app?
Yeah, so what our clients are doing and what we recommend is similar to your email database. You create an offer. So if you go to any of our retailers' websites, sign up for a newsletter for 10% off your next purchase. Download our app for 10% off your next purchase, which I think is great. And so you're incentivizing this. Other things that are actually really cool are exclusivity. So the consumers who download your app are considered your most loyal. A lot of our consumers, particularly within fashion and cosmetics, are launching their new products on their app, maybe a week before their website or in store. So if you are the most loyal customer, you're waiting for that push notification to say, hey, we've got that brand new shirt or jacket or whatever it is, and you give them the first chance to purchase. So it's about giving an offer if you can give an offer, and that's part of your business model, but it's about making sure they know that they're going to get regular updates and they're going to be kind of first to know about all of your hot new products or new offers.
Cool.
Yeah, so I think with that, and we've talked about several channels here, Chad, I think with that, let's jump into a few questions. And we have one good question from Ryan. So this one goes out to you, Chad. Have you done anything with a loyalty program for your brands? He's saying that they found out it really helps, in helping people come back.
For a loyalty program, so we don't have anything like Sweet Tooth or Smile.io. It's a little different when you're selling replacement accessories. One of the things, like I mentioned, is we launched a referral program. So if you refer somebody and they buy from us, you get like a gift certificate to Starbucks. And I think that's been a great incentive to help people spread the word and proselytize, really, that you should be shopping on Crucial. But that's the extent that we've done that.
Right.
What else are you seeing?
Yeah, I'll jump in and answer that. Also, for anybody else that's still on the webinar, please feel free to go ahead and drop your questions in, and we'll either get them answered here or we'll reply with an email sort of answering the rest of these questions. But yeah, I mean, obviously, loyalty program is such a big, a key component of what we do, which is why we've built it into our platform. So the goal for our merchants is to get their consumers to download the app so they have this direct communication channel and this direct selling channel in what is one of the most personal ways possible, right? Like, I've had my phone in my hand, and I can see people out in our office right now that all have their phones in their hands, right? Everybody's holding this phone.
Oh, they need to get back to work.
Yeah, well, I think, yeah, we'll let them know. Exactly, but they, you've got this app now. You've got a way to communicate directly with them through push notifications, which is fantastic. But now, how do you incentivize that, and how do you gamify that? And that is through the loyalty program. Whether it's by referring additional customers, it's by points for how much you spend, or bundles, things like that. But I think that's sort of that last key component of a really great experience is sort of the gamification of it through loyalty programs.
And just out of curiosity, with the app, can you force opt-in for notifications, or they always have to just select if they want to receive the notifications?
Yeah, so they actually have to enable it. which is very interesting for us because industry-wide, and in what we're seeing is we get about, across our data, we get about a 68% enablement rate, which is pretty good. You know, I hear a lot of people say, I get all these push notifications and I hate it, my phone's going off, and I'm saying, well, turn them off for anything that's not relevant. And so it's very important for the retailers to make sure that they are segmenting their push and that the pushes are relevant and they're not too often, right? That your consumers should get a push notification and actually be excited that whatever new product's in or this new promotion is running. And I think that's also a key component of getting the right consumers to download. You're going to have consumers who download your app for that 10% off and then maybe not want to purchase with you again. And those, we kind of expect those to not enable push notifications and potentially uninstall. But you've got your core base of consumers that you want to communicate with. And before we really push this heavily, but before you promote your app, we try to work with our retailers to make sure they are communicating with their consumers on the benefit, right? That way they will enable. If you enable push notifications, you will be the first to hear about promotions, exclusive offers, all of those things. So all of that communication up front is important to increase your enablement rate. We got a couple more questions here. So one from Brian, how do you get the age data or behavior data from? So we actually have two ways to do that. The first is from the profile data. So we make it really easy for your consumer to set up an account. They can set up through the app. If they set it up through your desktop site, the account comes through to our app as well. And we also have registration. If you collect their birthday, you would have their age, for example, and then that becomes part of that profile data. But they would have to register with your site, similar to what you would do with your desktop site. The behavior data actually comes. This is really interesting. We've built into the Facebook SDK, and as long as your consumer has Facebook app downloaded on their phone, we're able to capture that demographic data. It's not a one-to-one data, but it's demographic data. So it's not based on email. I think a lot of retailers are used to creating custom lookalike audiences based on the email list they have or maybe their Facebook pixel. But you know, 99% of your consumers, I assume this is not a real number, but just based on, I'm looking, you know, pretty much everybody has Facebook on their phone. It's connecting your device ID. So we look at the device ID, and then we're able to see the demographic data of who is on your app and using your app, and then segment your push notifications that way. Let's see, and then we've got one more. Does Shopgate integrate directly with Skubana as a new channel, or does it integrate with our storefront, BigCommerce in our case, which is already integrated with Skubana? I can speak to this. I think, Chad, you can speak to this too, but our primary role is to integrate with your e-commerce platform first. What our goal is to make sure you're not having to do duplicate effort. So we want you working on your BigCommerce or your Demandware or your Shopify store while we service up those apps. You're doing most of your work in your desktop site. And so Chad, I don't know if you want to add.
So when someone checks out on your app, it'll actually be rolling directly into BigCommerce or Shopify, and then Skubana, of course, will collect that after the checkout, right? The order will flow into Skubana.
Right, exactly.
And I actually use Shopgate in a different way. I know we talked a lot about the app, but I use Shopgate really because I have a Magento 1.x build for my e-commerce store, and building out a mobile responsive website was extremely hard, and so we worked with Shopgate. They built a awesome funnel for us on the mobile side so that we didn't have to build our own theming engine for Magento.
Right. Let's see. So Aaron's asking if we can estimate costs. Aaron, if you will go ahead and either shoot me or Chad an email, we can have a conversation. Specifically with Shopgate, all of our pricing is SaaS-based. There are no surprises. It's based on the features that you need and scales all the way from an SMB pricing to enterprise, like most platforms. We don't charge for app downloads, transaction fees, or anything like that. So we could have a conversation and see what kind of feature set you're looking at. And I think Chad, you know, if you've got Chad's email as well, you can jump in and have the same conversation with him.
Yeah, and like one of the things I want to point out just while we're on this slide is that I have an offer here, it's a power offer. I just got back from the IRC, so I'm a little bit swamped, but I know this is a combination between Skubana and Shopgate's tribe, and so I wanted to spend some time with people that are on the call today. We're going to select 10 people to have an audit of your retention strategy. I'm happy to give you some ideas and some input on your strategy, so feel free to apply for it at skubana.com/gold, and the password is nuggets.
Yeah, that's awesome. We're excited to partner on that. We've got quite a few other questions coming in here, and I think we're a little bit short on time, so I'll do one more quick one. Is Shopgate, I think we answered this one, is Shopgate compatible with BigCommerce? Yeah, we integrate with almost every e-commerce platform out there, and if you go to shopgate.com, you can have a look at all of the platforms and partners that we integrate with and work with. So I think that will maybe wrap it up there, Chad, unless you have anything else you'd like to add.
Thank you so much for everyone's time.
Yeah, and we will we'll send out a follow-up email with a copy of this webinar so that anything you're interested in, you'll get a copy of the slides as well as this recording.
Great. Thank you, everybody.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Chad.
And Casey.
Okay, bye-bye.